Hi there. Have you ever felt that no matter how much you do, it feels like it's never enough and that maybe you're failing when really you're just fried? Today, I want to share my own story of how performance pressure shows up in my business and parenting and life and everything, trying to do it all in one. And I want to share some nervous system practices with you that you can use right now to shift from proving to presence. Okay, this is my challenge and I want to share it with you and hopefully we can do a bit of it together. So today in this video, we're going to unpack the performance trap that we all get stuck into. So we're going to go through that a little bit. I'm going to share how nervous system dysregulation fuels this cycle, how you go through it. And we're going to practice 3 simple somatic tools that you can use today to start helping yourself in this situation. And I'm going to leave you with a gentle reframe that you can take forward and use as and how you please. So let's get started. We're going to start with the perpetual performance trap, right? I'm so guilty of this. So it's like I'm straddling basically 2 versions of success in my life at the moment. One is where I want to achieve and I want to do more and I want to be more. I want to make more money. I want to have more success. I want to have more of this. I want to have more of that. And to do that, I've got to work harder and harder and harder and harder. And that's to take up my whole life. But at the same time, I want space and peace to do the things that I love. And I love my business. So that's part of the problem. But I want to have some of my hobbies in there as well. I want to spend time with my son. I want to be more than just a working mum. I want to have that presence and connected time with him. And when I work, I feel guilty that I'm not doing this. I want to do this. I feel guilty that I'm not working. And I'm stuck in this constant, right, I've got to be the best mum that I possibly can. I've got to be the businesswoman. I've got to have a perfect looking home. I've got to do all of these things. And so I'm constantly on this hamster wheel trying to prove. And part of it is this need to prove that I'm good enough, the need to prove that I'm worthy. And understanding that it's how I need to get to that stage of believing that I am good enough, believing that I am worthy, even if I'm not the super, super successful businesswoman. Maybe it's only just trickling in slowly. And maybe accepting that I am still a good mum, even if I am working when my son is at home in the holidays. It's not an either or. I can be worthy and still do those things. I'm a human being and I am worthy of love, whatever, as long as things are coming from a good place, I'm doing a good job. And it's just remembering that. And it's going from like having these 2 sides of scarcity, proving, fear, and the rhythm and the trusting and the flow. And it's kind of trying to get from here to here in the easiest possible way. So some of the signs that you might be in this performance trap with me is anxiety, even after a successful day. So I can have an amazing day. I get like loads done and everything flows. And I wake up the next day, particularly in the morning, and I've got this anxious feeling like, oh my gosh, because I've got to do it again. And I've got to keep doing it. And I've got to keep doing it. And it's that stress. And the guilt when working, or guilt when doing something other than the other thing. So when I'm with my son, if he's around at home, sometimes we'll have times where I'm working, he's watching a bit of telly or playing his own thing, or sometimes he sits at the table with me and does his crafts while I'm working, but I still feel guilty that I'm not giving him undivided attention. That's a sign that I'm in the performance trap of having to be the perfect parent. And then building strategies up in your life that if you have a day off, everything's going to collapse. And that might not be the case that they're going to collapse, but in your brain, everything's going to fall apart if I'm not there, if I don't do it, if I can't be there, because you're constantly on. So this is a sign as well that your nervous system is up here, right? Your nervous system is triggered to a high extent. You're living in fight or flight. And it's one of the things that I'm working on more and more and more in my life is getting out of that living in the fight or flight mode and living more into the calm, rest and digest stage where I can allow things to just happen and it's not going to be up here all the time. And a lot of this comes to that we are scared of failure, and that's obviously the fight or flight. But this is the thing to remember as well when you're doing all this stuff, that ambition that you've got to drive, that drive that's driving you forward, is nervous system dysregulation dressed up as ambition. So we're not talking about something that's, yeah, it's amazing. I've got all this ambition because I love what I'm doing, or it's just joyful and everything. Because when that's happening, everything else feels joyful around you. Okay. Because you're doing something that is where you're flowing into. And that's the way that I'm going. I want to be, is I want to be flowing into it. I don't want to be doing it feeling that I'm letting out all the other things in my life go, or I'm disappointing myself because I'm not doing everything, because that's nervous system dysregulation. That's fight or flight. That's fear. So why? What are the root causes of this? Why does this actually happen to me, to you, to a lot of people? One is societal. So we live in a culture of hustle. I'm obviously doing this on social media. Social media is like bam, bam, bam in your face. You've got to be doing it all the time. Otherwise, you're going to be failing. You've got to be putting content out all the time. And it's this capitalist idea of the demand for more, 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 more. And I sit in the thing, there's nothing wrong with wanting to make money. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be successful. But it's all about getting that balance between taking yourself forward, but doing it in a way that actually feels nourishing to your soul and your mind and your body and everything. So it's the whole person drive as opposed to the fear drive. And that's where you're going to make the most money as well, when you're doing it from a place of soul as opposed to a place of fear. And another root cause can be personal. So family conditioning can be a big thing. So if you were in a family where success and achievement was very much dominating, then that can really push you that way. The fear of not being enough, like proving your worth. I talked about that. I have a lot of that myself. I grew up in a house with my dad, who was an alcoholic, who was very abusive, and that tells its toll. You hold on to that for a long time. You know, my dad committed suicide 18 years ago now. Long time. I have to calculate the years. 18 years ago now. So it's a long time. I was 25. Had a big impact on my life then, and it still has an impact now, because my nervous system is still recovering from something like that occurring in your life. And it's just remembering that these things take time to work through and to understand. And it's the awareness and the work on it that is actually the progress, right? And I've learned to love the journey. I've learned to love the spotting when things are dysregulated and bringing it back to normal, because that actually then means that I can look at those things that happen when they come up and think, okay, that's just something that, it's not like something more on my journey, and it's great. So just something for you to think about. What story about success keeps your nervous system on high alert? So what are the stories you'll tell yourself about success that puts you in fight or flight? So I've obviously been telling you some of mine. Have a think about for you what it is that actually works for you. Now, we're going to change the pace a bit, and we're going to do some somatic practices that are going to help you to start with that regulation of the nervous system. These are things that I do, things that I practice, things that I have in my arsenal, as you would, of tools. Sorry, that's quite an appropriate word, because in the UK, the football season is starting back today, and I support Arsenal and they're playing later. So maybe that's why that's in my brain, because it's not a word I use in that context very often. So the first thing we're going to do is grounding presence. Okay, so it's a letting go of proving. So there's grounded presence. There's 3 of these can be grounding, and this is letting go of proving. So this is like really simple, something that you can do anytime. You put one hand on your heart and one on your belly. Okay, we'll do this together. Do it right now if you can, if you're not driving or operating heavy machinery or doing something else that you can't. Hand on heart, hand on belly. And inhale deeply. Feel your belly and your chest expand. And then exhale really slowly. Feel the chest and the belly going down. And then do it again. Inhaling up. And as you do, say, I'm not here to prove. And as you exhale, I'm here to live. And one more time, inhaling. I'm not here to prove. I'm here to live. Then release your hands, come back to your normal breath. Just allow the breath to return to its normal, natural rhythm. And just notice how that calms you. Whenever you are dysregulated, and I always say the best way to bring yourself back to a regulated system is to do deep breathing. It's not going to work for everybody, but if it works for you, it has profound effects. And it's because when we're shallow breathing, we're essentially telling the nervous system that we're under threat. And because we live most of our lives in fight or flight response, we tend to breathe in our chest. So we're constantly telling the nervous system and the body that we're under threat. When we slow down, we breathe into the belly, we breathe slowly, we breathe deeply. It's an instant signal to the body, the nervous system, I'm safe. And everything calms and everything slows. So we're now going to think about how we can do something in the body, okay? Because we hold a lot of tension in the body. And this is where you can think about just gentle exercises that you can move that bring awareness into the body. And this can be just like gentle shoulder rolls backwards and forwards. And then you can do a real shoulder. And this is, so what you do is you inhale up, bring the shoulders to the ears, and then sigh the breath away. And like make it really loud. So you're releasing stuff. So inhale up. Sigh the breath away. So just letting out what needs to come out. And you're just, when you tense that up, you bring that tension into the body and then you're releasing it and letting it go. So we've done that. And then what you can actually do is you can do affirmations, you're doing it as well. So you can lift your shoulders up, and as you release, you can be saying to yourself, it's safe to rest. My work doesn't vanish when I pause, or something like that. So if you're thinking about my work, and that was something for me, because when I'm worrying about constant schedules, but you can just safe to rest and just let that go and let that out and just be where you are. So that's another quick exercise you can do wherever you are. So the next exercise we're going to look at is one where you can do when you're feeling like everything's getting on top of you. Okay, so you're feeling this weight. And often what we do is we kind of carry the weight on our shoulders, we round our back and we protect our heart because that's the bit that feels unsafe, so we protect it. So we can actually change that by doing a heart opening exercise. And this can be just as simple as you inhale, open the arms, pull them back, and you open the chest. And we're just allowing this area to open as we breathe deeply. And then exhale, just release the arms down by the sides. And then inhale, open. And exhale, release down. And one more time, inhaling, open. And exhale, release down. So, and you can do it again. We can do it with inhale. It's safe to need space. And arms down. So this can particularly feel when you want your own space. It's a particularly good one to open up. Just affirm into that and accept it and open that up and release anything that the body's holding in that situation. Okay, so there's just 3 really quick exercises that you can do very easily when you feel stuff getting on top of you. So some of the things that you can try sort of that when we're not doing this that will help you is using your boundaries as protectors. So I'm very guilty of this, is that I'll say yes to everything. And then I think, oh, I've got too much stuff. And then I say no, and then I just drop everything. But actually then I end up dropping the thing that I really want to do, but I don't really know because I've got too much stuff and I can't think. So this is about setting your boundaries and knowing, am I saying yes out of proving or out of people pleasing or out of another reason? Or do I actually really want to do this? And that's when you start to check in with your body, check in with your nervous system. How does it feel? How would I feel doing this? And actually then start to think about that. And then that can help you to make better decisions and keep yourself from feeling that overwhelm. And you can do mini energy audits as well. So every evening, just write one thing that drained you and one thing that nourished you. So you start to become aware of the things that are draining, the things that are nourishing. So you can add in more things that nourish and less things that drain. Or when you've got some of the things that drain you are things you have to do and they are going to be draining. But when you know they're coming up and you've got to do them, you can then build in some of those things that nourish you around it so that it doesn't actually cause as big of an impact. And then you can have the 5-minute pause rule. So in between tasks, if you're moving from one task to another or one meeting to another, give yourself a full nervous system reset for 5 minutes. So maybe do some deep breathing, some focusing, some attention. And actually in my free group, the group that's free at the moment, the Sacred Pause, you can get a 5-minute pause ritual in there for free. If you want to join, I'll drop the link in the comments, description even. So that's kind of like the exercises, things you can try. So if you want to live a purpose-driven life, you can love your business and still want a break. You can love your child and still need space. You're not failing. It's just a recalibration of what feels right to you. So just to remember as well that presence doesn't mean doing less. It means being intentional. So we start to be present in what we're doing, intentional in how we do things, and we do things that work for us and flow in the way that we need them to flow. So as a reflection point for you, what would shift if you stopped proving and started listening to your nervous system instead? So think about that. Like if you were actually not proving and you were just listening to what your nervous system was telling you that you needed to do, what would change in your life? Now, for me, I got so exhausted, I had to take 3 months out. And my body was just like, you've just got to stop. Well, I didn't take 3 months out. I took 3 months to renovate a house, but it was different because I was doing something different. And it was like a full mental break from the creation mode. And because I'd overloaded myself and I was weighed down, it was like I needed a different break. So it's how you can realize that maybe taking breaks as you go along stops you from thinking I need a long break. And it's just how you can factor that into what's going on in your life. So I encourage you to try one of these practices tonight or later in the day and let me know what you notice. Add it in the comments, come back and share. I'd love to know. And like I said before, if you want more support in building your rhythm-led life and business, join me in the Sacred Pause. I'll put the link in the description. And just remember to like and subscribe. Got that one. And you're not broken. You're failing. You're not failing. Why did I say that? You're not broken. You're not failing. You're finding your rhythm. And that is where your power is. So just remember that. You're not broken and you're not failing. You're just finding your rhythm. And when we find our rhythm, that's when everything just flows perfectly. And, I'm still working on it and we'll get there together.